I had a blowout on the interstate, was thumbing from the side, choking down the dust from their cars passing by. And all of a sudden, from out of the blue, a sophisticated lady with something to prove pulled up beside me, stopped on a dime, said, I got what you need, let me give you a ride. I knew right away when she picked me up, real women drive pickup trucks. Real women drive pickup trucks. There's a powerful attraction and they just can't get enough. They won't put up with a backseat driver. They've got a passion and they know their stuff. Yeah, real women drive pickup trucks.
Welcome to the Friends of Dan Music Podcast. I'm Dan Miles. You've been listening to the music of Nick Nicholson, who's joining us on the phone right now from Glendale, Arizona. Hi, Nick.
Hey, how's it going?
Going good. Well, as you might have guessed, everybody, that song is called Real Women Drive Pickup Trucks. It's from Nick's self-titled CD. You're based in the Southwest now, but I know you're originally from the South. Did you want to give a shout-out to your hometown?
Yeah, I want to say hey to Gray, Tennessee, back in the northeast section there by Bristol Raceway in the Tri-Cities. Lots of good people back there, so.
All right, Gray, Tennessee. Well, when we first met, which would have been around 1994, I know you're still in the Air Force. What was your area of expertise in the service?
My area of expertise or what they made me do.
Good point.
Actually, when I came in, they had a big need for weapons loaders and weapons system maintainers, basically. I did about 10 years. And got out to pursue music, of course, but if I would have known it was going to take this long to get where I'm at right now, I would have just finished up and retired.
We did lose touch for a while. Then one night I saw you on the Phoenix Suns pregame show talking to Tom Chambers. Were you singing the anthem that night?
Yeah, I did. I sang the national anthem in front of about 30,000 people, and I've never done that before, and that was really cool. But I can understand why people would, if they're not used to singing in front of a lot of people, would be like more likely to mess up.
Well, hey, especially that song is not an easy song to sing, you know.
People that aren't involved in music vocally don't understand that this particular song is well known for being one of the hardest songs ever to sing, from the aspect of what key you started in isn't what you're going to finish it in, so you got to be really careful of what key you started in.
Well, the advice I've heard is you got to start that first note as low as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you do that, that high note's going to be more in reach. Well, since we're talking about singing and music, which is what this show's about, let's go ahead and listen to another one of Nick's songs. This is a really fun track. It's called Tell Me How You Want It.
Welcome to the party. Hope you're in the mood. If you want to, we can go all night. The louder you scream, the harder I'll rock you, here to knock you off your feet. That's right. I'm here to fulfill your every desire. Tell me how you want it, and I'll set you on fire. Do you like it fast? Let me hear you say, yeah, I can do it like that till you're out of control. Do you like it slow? We can take our time and let the rhythm flow. Do you like it rowdy? Now we are moving, I like it that way too. Just tell me how you want it. I'm gonna give it to you. That's right, baby. Let me play you some twang, mixed with rock and roll, blues and soul. We're gonna crank it to 10. If you're feeling the music, hold your hands high, testify. Can I get an amen? I wanna see you dance. Get up it fast, let me hear you say, yeah, I can do it like that till you're out of control. Do you like it slow? We can take our time and let the rhythm flow. Do you like it rowdy? Now we are moving, I like it that way too. Just tell me how you want it. I'm gonna give it to you.
I really like the rock and roll undercurrent you've got going on that track, and that rhythm change in the chorus I think is really effective too. I know in addition to being a great singer, you're also a talented drummer. Do you think you give the drum tracks on your albums heavier scrutiny because you're a drummer?
Yeah. One of the hardest positions to hold in my band would be the drums because I'm a little partial to them. I do recognize a talented drummer, and I understand their freedom of their art, so I don't jump on too much. But when other things, other aspects of distractions come in and whatnot, I mean, everybody's welcome to their own creative abilities. I mean, the guys in Nashville are just spot on anyway. This guy, Steve, I can look at his name here. Steve Holland's his name. And he's a fantastic drummer. He did a great job on all these tracks. I mean, basically nailed them all, but the remake we did of the Keith Urban song, Freedom's Finally Mine, that never officially got released, so unless you're a hardcore Keith Urban fan, you wouldn't even know it was his. So
yeah, I saw the songwriting credit on there, and I was wondering about that.
Yeah, that was good stuff. So
yeah,
he said, okay, I get to pick from. This is the cool thing. When I did the album, I got to pick from 10 songs that he wrote, and I had a publisher. And I'm like, man, I want to do them all, but I can't do that because a lot of them had been released because they were from the Ranch album and everything. So this is one that didn't really get out there until after he made it big. So
yeah, my question about the drums was just I was wondering if there's ever times where you've just felt like saying, "Let me do it," and you get behind the kit yourself. I mean,
and it's happened. It happened. It doesn't happen that often, but if we're breaking in a new song that's kind of a weird. I'm really into offbeat drums myself. I mean, I was a rock drummer for over 20 years, and my preferability for music is rock and roll. I mean, I grew up in rock and roll, and I didn't turn country till the mid 90s or so. But then still, I wasn't in a band that was country. I didn't go really country till 2000. I'd sing rock and roll from behind a kit during our shows in a rock band, and just eventually broke it in as I taught myself how to play guitar, and that's how I learned to write music, and from the country aspect anyway.
And you're from Tennessee. I'm sure that it was all around you there too.
It was around me, but being a kid from the '80s, we always rebelled and went for the Metallica and the really heavy metal stuff because Mom and Dad said it's not good for you.
Right. Sure. Well, that song "Tell Me How You Want It." It reminded me a little bit of like maybe Ritchie Blackmore, Deep Purple kind of guitar riff and groove.
Definitely. It's weird because the guitar player that played on the track actually works at the Grand Ole Opry. He's one of the session players there that provide the band for the major artists that come on and sing. So, and he was a rockheads guy, but he does the twangy stuff when he has to. That's where the roots lie. So.
Yeah, well, for me, it's nice to hear something that draws in other elements and it makes the tracks more interesting, and that rock and roll undercurrent, it drives the music. It still has the steel guitars and the fiddles and everything going, but it makes your music stand out, I think. Yeah,
and the song is fantastic. I wanted to release it, but I sent it out to a few DJs across the nation that are friends of mine, and I'm like, hey, I'm really thinking about setting this thing free here and letting y'all run with it. And I got about a 50-50 response on it being a little bit too risque when the song is actually about dancing. But a lot of country genre people, I mean, we're based mainly out of a big city here, and you go into small towns in northeast Tennessee and whatnot where they're pushing 100,000 watts over like 5 states, and then there's some backwoods hollers and stuff back in there where that song may offend them. So they were like, it may be a little bit too risque for a lot of other stations, but I'd spin it because it's a great song.
Well, it's one of those situations where there is definitely a sexual subtext if you want to see it and hear it there.
If you want to.
Yeah. But
if you see me live, it will be there.
Yeah, it's your choice. You can take it on the level of how do you want your music, or you can read a double meaning into it.
Exactly.
Well, I know you play a lot of shows around Arizona on a regular basis, and I know you play out of state a lot too. I was just curious if you use a tour bus for those gigs or if you fly.
Depends. I mean, I'll fly half of them, and if they're close enough to where we can just load up our trailer, we can go like that too. Because nowadays being an independent artist is a little bit pricey because everything's jacked up, and the whole industry's really suffering right now. And a lot of people don't understand that, but if you just think, how many times do tours roll through your city, and what artists are they? And then you get to pick the big ones, or you can go on an off day and see an independent out there that's really trying to bust his way up. And to me, I like the smaller, more intimate kind of shows anyway. So.
Well, I had this image of you flying first class and the band taking a beaten down bus. And
no, being a musician, I don't think like that. It was all about me. They would probably be like that, but I've been in the trenches as a drummer, and that's the lowest position you can hold. So I know what it's like.
Well, speaking of traveling, I know you recently attended the Academy of Country Music Awards in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand Hotel. How was that?
It was awesome. It was on the record, through the papers, and the critics. It was the best one in 22 years. So. And I was fortunate enough to be there to witness that, and it was a good time. I mean, every performer that went up there just really kicked butt, and the sound was great. And they had some fireworks going on in there, and I was really surprised. I mean, the MGM Grand calls it their ballroom, and you walk in there, and it was just like I was singing the national anthem for the Suns. It was that big.
Does the show have like a director, or producer, or an announcer that speaks directly to the audience during commercial breaks, or is that just up to the host?
You know what? It's the host pretty much just reads off. Reba was reading off of the teleprompter, and there was a guy somewhere up in the ceiling. That's what he sounded like. You know, he's coming over the PA system, directing everybody when the commercial's on. Yeah. And then he would count down. Okay, 30 seconds. Get in your seat, and he'd count down to 10, then 5, and then roll tape or something like that. You know, so you can see everybody scrambling to grab their seats.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was wondering about, because they got to let everybody know when they're on and off the air. People take their bathroom breaks, or they set up for the next band or what have you.
Right.
Why don't you tell me a little bit more about the documentary film that you're going to be featured in?
I'm going to be in a film coming out early next year about independent artists. That's it's going to Sundance Film Festival in Utah. And they're planning on, if this thing, gets an attaboy from them, then it's going to go big Harkers Theater across the nation thing. And it's going to be called SOSD Independent Artist. And how I got involved in this is a good friend of mine within the last few years. He did a film here. He's a Hollywood guy. Did a film here called Jake's Corner in Arizona. He saw me perform and was like, "Hey man, I really like how you perform, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "That's awesome." So he invited me to the premiere, and then we went from there. And then he mentioned something a couple of years ago about, I'm thinking about doing an independent film about independent artists, and this is what I want to do. He goes, I want to capture every aspect of it, like a couple of guys from the director of independent films to a couple of actors. A comedian, a couple of musicians, and he goes, and I'd like for you to be one of the musicians. And I'm thinking, in this business, it's okay, whatever, man. You could write me in any film you want to. I'll be the fat guy on the stool in the back playing a guitar, talking about my old lady or something,
I don't see you playing the fat guy.
Hey, you ain't seen me on film, baby. But in a nutshell, it's 2 independent film directors, 2 independent actors, 2 independent musicians, and 1 comedian. And as soon as you see him, it'll be like, absolutely, I remember that guy from years ago. It's just going to tell the story about the struggle that nobody knows about other than musicians. Because if you ask us point blank, even in an interview or a book, somebody else will write the book. We'll say what we want to say. We won't tell you, directly the frustrations of it and what's happening with this documentary. If everybody's seeing it firsthand, because he's showing up at my shows, he's shooting these shows and interviewing me, and I mean, I look like total hell, because I'm all sweaty, I'm all just tired. I've been going for 3 days. I got no sleep. The next town's coming up in 2 days. I have to be able to sing after I just sang 3 5-hour shows, and And just to get my original material out there, I mean, it's tough, and a lot of people don't realize that. But when they do see a band in a bar that they think's pretty good, throw them a couple of bucks, or even just say, hey, man, you guys are really good. That means a lot to them.
Yeah, I agree, and I know you've got a great live show. I want to get back to, I know you recorded your album in Nashville and used the top-notch session players and a really experienced production team. Were you able to knock out that whole album in one trip, or did you have to go back and forth a few times to get it done?
I knocked that album out in 3 days.
Oh, man. It doesn't sound that way.
It doesn't, but that's what we did. I mean, I came prepared to the studio, and that goes back to the military discipline thing, and also that I'm an independent, and that came out of my pocket. So we rolled in prepared, and I mean, using Nashville's session players, and they're all fantastic. I've never seen it. I mean, I witnessed it for myself the first time when I went back to Nashville for CMA Fest 2 years ago to play, to actually perform. And I got there a day early, handed these guys the songs and the charts. They listened to them one time and played them back to me like the record. So that portion of it was easy.
Yeah, and there's a lot of tasty chops on every track on the album. You know,
they did a heck of a job.
Yeah, you wonder how many sessions those guys do a year, but you know they did
17 hours with me the first day.
Wow.
And then the next 2 days was vocals.
There's several songwriters credited on the album, but the name that seems to come up the most is Linda Lang. Does she write specifically for you?
She did for this particular album, because how that worked out is her mother was gracious enough to be my investor for the project. And so the deal was, you need to pick 5 songs from other writers, and basically to help her career out. And she's an excellent writer herself.
Definitely. I mean, she's got her hand in some of the best stuff, so it sounds like win-win.
The Greatest of These, man, that's an awesome song. Hero to My Heart, I mean, that's a great song. Your Love Don't Move Mountains, that's Faith Hill and Tim McGraw right there, man. That's a duet if you really listen to it, you know.
Well, you know, it's about time we play some more music. The first time I heard the album, a particular song that jumped out at me that I'm going to play right now, I don't want to say the title because I don't want to give away the chorus, because the first time I heard it, I thought it was really clever. I want to give our listeners a chance to have that same initial exposure that I did. So we're just going to listen to it, and then we'll talk about it right afterwards. Here we go.
Bought a house in the country with a 2-car garage. Everyone thinks it's cozy, but it's just a facade. Behind the sign that says welcome, there's no place like home. In the rooms where we're living together alone, it's a 2-story house, her story and mine. There's a stairway between us where she's drawn the line. These walls that divide us are too high to climb. It's a 2-story house, her story and mine. Upstairs in her bedroom, she breaks down and cries while I die on a love scene with tears in my eyes. I think we could start over. She thinks we've gone too far. How can I begin to build a bridge to her heart? It's a 2-story house, her story and mine. There's a stairway between us where she's drawn the line. These walls that divide us are too high to climb. It's a two-story house, her story and mine. It's a two-story house, her story and mine.
It's a two-story house, her story and mine. That really made me smile the first time I heard it. I really like the organ part on that track. I know you mentioned the Hammond player, and I really like the way that sounds. And, of course, a great vocal performance by you as well.
Well, I appreciate that. It's got a very hard-hitting home kind of feel to it, and a lot of places out there and communities and families that can relate to it because of, we got the white picket fence out front and a two-story house, and the 2.5 kids, a dog, and a cat, and then they don't know what goes on behind closed doors.
Yeah, the song captures that, and it has the the clever analogy with all the stairs and everything that follows up on the chorus. I just thought, not that it was my favorite song on the album, but the first time it came around, it was the one that got my attention lyrically the most. Well, I know you got a new single coming out very soon. It's called Stronger Than Whiskey. I have had a chance to hear it. It's a little more serious song. It's about alcoholism and spiritual redemption. We're not going to be able to play it on this show, unfortunately, because it has not yet been officially released, but I do promise to play it on a future podcast. Is there anything you want to say about that song?
I will say that it's probably one of the most emotional songs I've sang. The guy that wrote it, Dave Norris, is also my producer, and it's about, like you said, alcoholism, and it's about his alcoholism and his redemption, and pulling out everything and looking for other sources of motivation. I'll just say that, because it's a really powerful song, and I think a lot of people need to hear that.
It is, and in our prior episode, I spoke with Paulina Logan about writing fiction and writing nonfiction and which direction to go. So by you telling me that, it isn't just something somebody thought would be a good idea for a song, it's right in this guy's essence and his core, and then you, his partner, are singing it for him. I think that it even gives more power and weight to that track. Yeah, it's more or less a testimony to his life, and he eventually picked his family over. And faith over the bottle. I mean, there's a ton of songs about whiskey and the old bar songs, blah blah blah, for the outlaws. But this one here is even more outlaw than anything. Stand up to be a man about it is more outlaw than actually acting like one. Yeah. I love Leonard Skinner, and I don't think they ever wrote a song that didn't have the word whiskey in it somewhere.
Yeah, it's a good little topic.
Is there going to be another album coming out soon?
Yeah, I'm working on one now, which the single we just went ahead and set up for release here in the next month or so for Stronger Than Whiskey, the title track to the CD. We went ahead and got it out there because it had been about 2 years since I'd had anything out, so I was due for another single. So I was like, okay, let's just it just impressed us enough to say, hey man, just throw it out there. And I referred to it. I mean, when I say Dave Norris, he's a freelance producer, and he needs his plugs too. He's a heck of a guy. He's really close to my age. It's going to be a different kind of album compared to my last album. And when I heard this song, I was just like, you know what? That's a big boy song. That's like, I can see, the big guys that I grew up listening to singing this song and giving it that much feeling, and it meaning it touched a lot of people's lives. So I've got 4 tracks done on the CD right now. We're basically in a holding pattern until we can get some financial stuff worked out, and we're going to finish it up hopefully before September and have a September release. And I'm picking the songs on this album to be, every one of them be a single, that kind of caliber, not the typical, hey, I picked the song up for what they were playing on the radio and the rest of them sucked. No, every one of these kicks some major butt. So.
Yeah, I think the technical industry term is filler.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting that we're talking at this time because, the single is so new and we don't know where it's going to go. I know it's been released to radio and you've already got a lot of radio stations interested in you and your music, and also the people listening that have been listening to the show and like your music. It's a perfect time to support you financially by buying what you've got out there right now and maybe giving you a little boost and a pump and having some input into you getting your project done.
Absolutely. It's kind of a reward for everybody involved. I mean, we get the writers paid and the players paid, and of course the last guy on the totem pole, which would be the singer.
Well, listen, if everybody out there is interested in learning more about Nick and his music, you can start by going to nicknicholsonmusic.com. That's NickNicholson. And don't forget to put music at the end of it, or you're not going to get there. nicknicholsonmusic.com. I also recommend adding Nick on Facebook and MySpace so you can connect with his other many fans. And you've, I hear you've been causing a stir over on Reverb Nation too. Is that right?
Yeah, we uploaded a song or actually a couple songs. I had one on there, my last single, Something on there for a long time, and didn't get much reaction out of it. And we actually just threw up the upcoming release on there recently just to see what kind of reaction we get, and we blew up there to number 3.
Wow.
In about 4 days, so we're pretty happy with that. How's this guy number 3? He's only got 20 fans.
Well, that bodes well for the success of it, and I think, because it is a more serious song and it is something that's very real, I'm sure that's playing a part in that. Yeah, well, I mean, we blow this thing out live, and that's the main reason why I wanted to do the CD like I did, is because I want the people to see hear what they see live. I want them to, without it being a live recording, I want them to still get that passion and that energy out of a CD, and where they just can't pull it out of the player and they want to share it with other folks. The first one being, it was a great CD as well, but it was more of a Nashville polished sound, which is your standard blah blah blah, but by producer Dave Norris, who's with Norris Song Productions in Nashville. He allowed me, being closer to my age, allowed me to be myself, be an artist, and not be cookie cuttered into doing something, too rock and roll, that's too rock and roll. Well, man, I am rock and roll. That's me, that's my rock edge. And a lot of people that come to my live shows are like, you know what, I don't even like country. You guys rock. I'll listen to you every day. That's the feedback we're getting from the show. So. Well, I think you've got the best of both worlds. You've got definitely country credibility, and as I picked up right the polish of the production on your album didn't throw me at all. I mean, I appreciated it, the quality of it, but I definitely detected that there was more going on than a cookie cutter type act. As I said, there's some rock and roll things in there, and there's definitely something different about it to my ears.
Yeah, it's there's some rock slips in there that I just absolutely had to do. And it's like, man, I can't do my people like this,
I know. We're going to close the show now with Nick's biggest radio hit up to this point, which is Something Something. You got to be sure to drop those G's when you say it. It's country music. You don't say something something. If you're from Gray, Tennessee, it's Something Something.
That's right.
And it's got one of those choruses that just sticks in your head in a good way. Well, Nick, thanks so much for being my guest today. I really appreciate it.
No problem, Dan. I appreciate you.
First in line at the time clock, sideways out the parking lot. Rocket man down the interstate, now moving, mister, I can't wait. Knock, 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 who loves you, baby? Tick, tick, tock, gonna drive you crazy. Don't stop, unchain the door, yeah, girl, I'm back for more. You got that something, something, my heart is thumping, thumping, my blood is pumping, pumping. It don't take a genius to see there's nothing, nothing like yours. Loving, loving, yeah, you're something, something, and it got a little something for me. Tell me, baby. That down-home smile, that southern drawl, the way you giggle and say y'all, the way you wiggle when you walk, it makes me stutter when I talk. Sweet, sweet, sweeter than sweet tea. Swing, swing, swinging on the porch with me. Hubba, hubba, there's no doubt. Girl, I just can't live without you. Something, something, my heart is thumping, thumping, my blood is pumping, pumping. It don't take a genius to see there's nothing, nothing like your loving, loving, yeah, you're something, something, and you got a little something for me. Woo! There's something about you, girl, something you got. I can't put my finger on it, but I like it a lot. You got that something, something, my heart is thumping, thumping, my blood is pumping, pumping. It don't take a genius to see there's nothing, nothing like your loving, loving, yeah, you're something, something, and you got a little something for me. Tell me, baby, have you got a little something for me? Have you got a little something for me? That's right.